Peace, everyone. How y'all doing? Welcome to Black Intelligentsia. This right here is a show live from Israel. We talking with brothers live from Israel, African Hebrew Israelites. So if you don't know about them, please take your time out, type in the name, and learn about them. Outside of that, we're gonna hand the mic over to the brothers, and we're gonna deal with this dialogue that we're gonna have here today, this Sabbath day in America, live from Israel.
Shalom, Brother Carl. Shalom to the listening audience, for the brothers and sisters out there listening to Israel Doctrine. My name is Sarah Madiel Ben Yehuda. I'm Minister of Information and a spokesperson for the African Hebrew Israelites here in Dimona on this side of the water. And we have concluded our Shabbat, but fortunately we are still in the midst of the Sukkot observances, the Sukkot holy day season. And I have with me one of the members of the prophetic priesthood, Ravia HaKohen, and he has agreed to bring a message of spiritual importance about how we have interpreted these holy days, how we've evolved even possibly over the years in terms of our understanding of the holy days and their significance for us in this day and time. And he's agreed to again to share a message from Jerusalem with the family there. On the last program, I did speak with you about some of the things that I personally was witnessing and seeing, and of course, things have intensified on that side. The election drama, which just as any way you look at it, it's lose-lose for America, and of course, it's lose-lose for African Hebrews in America. And so, that diagnosis, that assessment continues to be foremost in our doctrine, in terms of the fact that in this day and time that we believe that separation, spiritually, physically, has to occur and must be accelerated at this time if we are going to spare ourselves from, again, remember this, come out of her that ye be not partakers of her plagues. Come out of her, my people, were the instructions. So if you're not the people of the Most High, the people of the creator of the heavens and the earth, the creator of the Holy One of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, then that message is not for them. It's not for you. But again, we're speaking to the family, and I think among the family that you can relate to such a message, to know that from Jerusalem is home. From Jerusalem would go forth the light, the instructions, the law in the latter days, and certainly we would see this as the latter days. So with that as a little introduction, I'm going to again turn it over to my brother and friend, Ravia HaKohen, one of the members, the senior priest on the prophetic priesthood body, to speak with you at this time. Shalom.
Peace. How you doing, brother? Welcome to Black Intelligentsia YouTube channel.
Hallelujah. Thank you so much. Definitely, I first and foremost want to give all honor and praise to the great creator of all creation, the God of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Holy One of Israel, Yahuwah, and unto his anointed servant, Ben-Ami, and unto all of the saints of this glorious kingdom and all of the members of the Hebraic family here and in the diaspora, Brother Carl and family. Certainly it is my humble privilege to greet you all in peace and in love and in great blessings here from Jerusalem. Hallelujah.
Well, we welcome you here. We welcome you here. We waiting to see what it is you have for the audience today and what they can glean from it.
Okay. What I would like to pursue to share with you all is an overview of the three significant holy days that the God of Israel gave unto the children of Israel in the days or in the era of Moses. These are called sabbatical holy days, and they take place in the Hebrew month, the Hebrew 7th month, the month called Tishrei. And it's very interesting to look and to see how the Holy One of Israel laid this out, our forefathers back in the days of Moses. And so what we're going to do, Carl, we're going to take time and use as a spiritual or as a biblical reference point. We'll go to the book of Leviticus, and there for you and the family who would like to follow along, you could look at the 23rd chapter of Leviticus, and we could begin at the 24th verse. And again, from this particular point in the book of Leviticus, all the way to the close, reference is given to the 7 holy days, or to the 3 holy days that would take place in the 7th month. The first being, as it's written there in English, in the 24th verse, it states that on the first day of the 7th month, that we would celebrate what is called in English the memorial blowing of the trumpets. However, in Hebrew, the Hebraic term is Shabbaton Zikron Truah. Now, again, family, let us understand that each of the holy days that are given in this Hebraic 7th month are Sabbath holy days. The memorial blowing of the trumpets is really the improper name. Again, the Hebraic term Shabbaton Zikron Truah, if you were to translate that properly, you would state the sabbatical memorial of the Truah. That makes a big, big difference because the Holy One of Israel wanted us to recall the significance of the Truah, and the importance of us remembering it is so important that he wanted us to cease. He wanted us to stop everything that we were doing. This is not a big festive holy day, but it is a serious time of introspection, retrospection, and reflection to consider our blessings and the greatness of the wonderful things that the Holy One of Israel has given to us all. And again, the Truah, to remember the Truah is a very vital factor for us as a people, because what we actually find is that in this 7th month of Tishrei, we would actually experience 8 Sabbaths. 4 Sabbaths would be in accordance with Shabbaton Zikron Truah, Yom Kippur, and the opening and the closing of Sukkot. The other 4 sabbatical cycles would be the original Sabbath days of that holy day. So we find that in this 7th month of Tishrei, we are actually ceasing 8 times to really consider what is upon us, to consider our purpose, the meaning for our presence as members of the Hebrew Israelite people, the meaning of our presence in this land, and for us here at Jerusalem, and as well as yourselves to be participants in the building and the expansion of the kingdom of Yah on earth. And so it causes us to reflect and to prayerfully, upon doing this, gain value of our purpose. So taking time again to go back and to reflect on the first Sabbath that is given unto us, that is written that on the first day of the 7th month, we would celebrate and we would enter into a Sabbath of celebration of Shabbaton Zikron Truah. the sabbatical memorial of the Thruah, a time to stop, to retrospect, introspect, reflect on the vital importance, to remember the vital importance of the Thruah. Now, the Hebrew word Thruah, it can be translated loosely into a loud sound, a blast, or an alarm. In some instances, you hear it, or you may find it being translated as a trumpet. But again, it's a loud sound or a blast, an alarm. Now, those are translations that have been used, how should I say, traditionally in taking that term Thruah and bringing it over into an English context. However, we're finding through our studies, it even has greater meaning. The term Thruah comes from the Hebrew infinitive leharia, which again, to sound a blast, to sound a loud noise, or to sound an alarm. And it could also mean to cheer, to inspire, to uplift, to encourage. It could also be translated in those terms. Because again, when that sound, that blast, that alarm is expressed, it causes movement. It causes movement. It causes change. It helps to stimulate us and to move us toward oneness. Now, again, it's very important for us to realize this, because the Shema teaches us, "Hear, O Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu Yahweh, or Yahweh Avinu Yahweh Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one." Oneness is the essential element for us to possess. Our unity, our oneness, our ability to come together, to stand in one mind, one spirit, with one goal, one determination, to fulfill our objectives, to fulfill our goals as a people. And it is within that frame of oneness we find our strength. So, Leharia, to remember the Thruah, our remembrance of the Thruah is to assist us to understand the importance of expressing those things, sharing those things, and doing those things that will enhance our ability to be one. Our quest is to be one. And it's fitting that this holy day that takes place on the first day of the 7th month would take place 10 days prior to Yom Kippur.
And Yom Kippur, what do they know Yom Kippur as in English?
Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, is to be recognized and acknowledged on the 10th day of the 7th month. Shabbaton Zikron Thruah, or the memorial remembrance of the Thruah, is taking place. The sabbatical memorial of the Thruah takes place on the first day of the 7th month. The Day of Atonement takes place on the 10th day of the 7th month. And again, all of these references can be found in the 23rd chapter of Leviticus, starting at the 23rd verse, reading to the completion of that chapter. And you will see how these particular last 4 holy days that were given unto the house of Israel are documented. So again, the sabbatical memorial of the Thruah comes prior to the Day of Atonement. And again, it is encouraging us toward oneness. It is encouraging us to inspire, motivate, create the enthusiasm that would lead us to a greater sense of oneness. Hence, upon entry into Yom Kippur, the Day of Reconciliation, the Day of Atonement, we should be at the apex. We should be at the height of our oneness as a people. The height of doing all of those things that would assure that our unity, our bond, our connectivity with one another would be unbreakable, unbreachable. We would never be divided again as people. And we would successfully be able to accomplish, achieve whatever it is that we set our hearts toward. So this is very important for us to understand this from the eternal idea of what these holy days symbolize. They are symbolizing us coming, bonding, connecting, sharing, building, serving, doing those things that would allow us to be as one like never before. Again, going back, Liharia in actuality means to, it can be translated as to cheer, to inspire, to motivate, to encourage, to lift up, to create enthusiasm toward the fulfillment of a particular goal and objective. Now, as another reference point, and let me just take a pause. Carl, are you following? Do you think the family is following what's being said up to this point? Is there a need for questions or anything that needs to be clarified?
Not right now. I think just dealing with this day is one of the three that you was talking about. And if you can make sure you define those three for them in the Hebrew as well as English, that they might be more aware, like the Day of Atonement when I asked you to, give us the English version. So okay. It's a lot of new people, babes in, the faith and stuff that may need a little bit more clarity, but you dead on right now.
Okay. All right, let's say live on, man. I don't want to be dead on nothing.
Yeah,
but,
live
okay.
on.
I got you.
Okay,
I'm live on. All right, we enlivening and enhancing one another's presence right through here. Okay, so all right, we're on point then. Great. Another scriptural reference point that you all could utilize to assist you in understanding again the greatness of the Thruah is that you could go to the book of Numbers, the 10th chapter, and you will find that in this 10th chapter, Moses had instructed the house of Israel to build and to create 2 trumpets of silver. Okay, beginning there at the first and the second verse, you'll see that they were instructed to create these horns of silver, and when they blew with these trumpets, they caused movement. You will find that within the first 10 verses of that chapter, that when they blew a certain blast, the northern tribes of Israel would move. Because Israel had divided itself into 4 sections with 3 tribes apiece. So when there was a particular blast, the tribes to the north would move. When there was another blast, the tribe to the south would move. Another particular blast, the tribes to the east, and the tribes to the west. But then as it gets on further, that if they were to come into battle against their enemies, if they were to go into a confrontation and a challenging situation against opposition and adversity, then they're instructed, and if you go into the Hebrew, they're instructed to sound the Thruah. To sound the Thruah, not just merely making a blast, but when they're confronted with opposition, adversity, and challenge, then they are to sound the Thruah. And it is written that when they would sound the Thruah, that they would be remembered before your Yahweh. They would be remembered. in the mind and the consciousness of Yah Yahweh, and Yah Yahweh would come and cause their enemies to flee from before them. Now, again, symbolism. Symbolism. When the Thruah is sounded, when the Thruah is expressed, when those strong words are of encouragement and motivation are genuinely expressed from the heart, when you take the steps needed to cause yourself to be in a greater state of oneness and connectivity and bonding with your brother and your sister, and you solidify your relationship with one another, then there's nothing that can stand against you. You know, and you think about it. I want to kind of take a minute to elaborate a little bit more insofar as approaching the idea of the Thruah as a form of cheering. You know, when you have a team that you support, that you believe in, that you have faith in, that you want to see victorious in all that it does, you will support that team no matter what their situation. You believe in that team. You know that that team has championship potential. And because of that, you become a faithful fan of that team. Even if you go to the opponent's basketball court or stadium, because of your belief, your faithfulness, your loyalty to that team, you will wear your team colors. You will wear your team emblem. That no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, you always are displaying who you are and the team that you're supporting. That affirms oneness with that team, no matter what the situation or the circumstance. And when there's a strong, loyal fan base to a team, it gives the members of that team encouragement to perform on that court far beyond what would be ordinary. Because when they can look into the audience, when they can hear their names being called out by their fans, it inspires them, it encourages them, it gives them another sense of incentive to do what they've got to do to win that game. So in that simplicity, we can understand that when you hear the Thruah, it's a call, it's like a clarion call to come together. Let us mount up, let us join hands, let us join forces. Let us solidify our bond to overcome whatever this challenge and adversity may be. And sure enough, when we understand the oneness and the power of the oneness of your Yahweh, then we realize that there's nothing that can overcome us. There's nothing that can keep us, inhibit us, impede us from reaching our goals and achieving whatever it is that we've set into motion to achieve. This is very important for us. And so if we can take that to heart, then we can understand why in the book of Joshua, you know, the 6th chapter, when the children of Israel were directed to go and to engage Jericho. You know, and again, you take time. Joshua, the 6th chapter, verses 3 through 5. And you'll see clearly the instructions that Joshua gave to the children of Israel as to how they were to march around that city for 7 days. And then on that 7th day, they were to march around that city 7 times. And at the completion of the 7th time, they were told that the priest would blow with the shofar, with the trumpet, and that the people would shout a great shout. Again, the great shout being the Thruah. The people would, the voice of the people in expressing the Thruah would bring the walls of Jericho down. So we see that oneness of movement, that oneness of behavior, that oneness of expression, and that oneness of voice in sounding the Thruah was the true energy that brought down the walls of Jericho. But again, the key is that oneness, that unity, that commitment, that loyalty to a particular goal is what allowed them to be victorious in that situation. So if we look at that, and again, we think back now, we've gone through the throughout, and we're seeing the power of our voice, the power of our ability to express words from our mouths in unison with our hearts cause life-giving change. It causes life-giving growth, movement. It causes life-giving expression and behavior. Now we can understand why the Creator established these cycles in the way He did, so that on the 10th day of the 7th month, in our entry into the Day of Atonement, if we really understand the magnificence of the Thruah and what it does to causes us to come together, now we're going into atonement, and we want to reconcile ourselves of anything from anything that would divide us. We want to atone ourselves from anything that would divide us, anything that would have us being in a state of indifference with one another, because we realize the power of our oneness, and we don't want anything to creep in that would cause a separation, that would cause a breach, that would cause us to be at a state of discomfort in our relationships with one another or in one another's presence. So again, the Creator established the Day of Atonement on the 10th day to further inspire us, to further motivate us, and to give us the courage to remove anything that would impede this holy, sacred oneness. And we find that the Day of Atonement is the holiest of all the holy days. It's the highest Sabbath that had been given unto us by your Yisrael. It's the high holy day. It's the highest of the holy days. Why? Because through this day, which again, the day in itself is like the apex of the oneness. It's the height. It's the highest point of oneness. But it's something that we've got to pursue achieving every day of the year. Every day of the year. And so if we are continuously doing these things that solidify our unity and our oneness, and we come into the memorial of the Thruah, and now we coming into the Day of Atonement, with that oneness being solidified and secured, and we should be at a height of just joy and thankfulness for the beauty and the blessing of experiencing pure oneness of mind, pure oneness of heart, pure oneness of moving in the same directions with the same goals and objectives, doing those things that are for the good and the welfare of the whole. It allows us to enter into the Day of Atonement, enter into Yom Kippur, being at a state of peace and being able to overcome any adversity. The Holy Father revealed to us that Yom Kippur is the time where that relationship that is irreconcilable can become reconcilable. Those individuals that may have been an enemy can become a friend. You know, we are empowered with an ability to communicate, to engage, to sit and reason, to resolve whatever our differences may be, to assure our continued eternal oneness as a people. And that in itself moves us forward. Again, you go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. If you take the time and you read through it, you will find that the Creator instructed us that on the 15th day of the 7th month, we would enter into the Feast of Tabernacles. On the 15th day of the 7th month, and the 22nd day of the 7th month. So now we're seeing these 4 great holy day cycles. The day of the memorial remembrance of the Thruah on the 1st day of the 7th month, the day of the atonement on the 10th day of the 7th month, and now we have the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, which are to be acknowledged on the 15th day and the 22nd day of the 7th month. What is the significance of this? We've remembered the Thruah. We've taken it to heart, and we're doing and we're expressing those things that cause us to move upwardly. It causes us to ascend in consciousness. It causes us to ascend in our holy, sacred, and divine relationships with one another. We now have taken the time to assure that we remove anything that would impede our oneness, anything that would cause blockage in our ability to come together as a people and to overcome our indifferences. We've taken that step. And now we're told to go into the tabernacle, to go into the Sukkot, to go into what would be defined as temporary dwelling places. Temporary dwelling places. Why is this so significant for us to understand? Because the temporary dwelling places are indicative of the fact that once we have remembered the Thruah, once we have solidified our oneness with our reconciliation and atonement, we have now put ourselves in a position to transform, to transcend into another level of oneness, another level of ascension, another level of understanding. So that the previous level of where we were can't even be compared to where we're being catapulted and being thrust into. We're changing. We're changing in our understanding. The temporary understanding that we had last year has been enhanced, it has been strengthened, it has been fortified, which has compelled us to spiral up to another level of understanding, another level of consciousness, another level of value for one another, another level of reverence for life, another level of genuineness in our feeling the value of our oneness with each other, wherein we would do everything needed to maintain our sacred bond, maintain our sacred unity, maintain our sacred oneness like never before, because we can really see each other. And we realize in that ability to see one another genuinely, we're able to see the face of Yah. How do you see the face of Yah? You see the face of Yah in the oneness that you experience with your people. You hear the voice of Yah when you can hear your brother's heart, when you can hear your sister's heart, when you can realize the value of the sacred bond, of the relationship that you're able to possess in your connection with your brother, with your sister.
Well, let's get a little bit more fundamental with it. Could you give us all the feast days with the Hebrew and English terminology that defines them, and go in a little bit more how resting on these days and keeping these days, as it said in Ezekiel 20, I believe, it shows that he is the one separating you, and he's the one that sanctifying you, separating you, and how they identify you as servants, as was stated in the beginning. Come out of her. And taking those days, I believe, is nothing else but coming out of her, if nothing for that day or for the first and seventh day of that, cycle, or, the 7 days of keeping, the last feast and everything. I'm gonna let you tell them what that is, but if you could go into, just letting the people know the Hebrew and the English names and take them through it, and then, kind of come back to where you are. I think it'll help them too. Because like I said, it's a lot of babies in the faith.
Hey, like I said, the seventh day, those last 7 days, from the 15th day of the seventh month to the 22nd day of the seventh month. We're going to look at it contemporarily with the Julian calendar. We're talking about at this time, the 17th of this 10th month, which is called October, until the 24th of this 10th month of October. And again, within that time frame, we're to understand that in the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, which we're saying a temporary dwelling place. In former times, our fathers were told to build temporary dwelling places that would be made out of branches and boughs of trees, limbs. They would make these temporary dwellings that they would go and celebrate these 7 days of Sukkot, or these 7 days of the Feast of Tabernacles in. Again, that's symbolic. What I'm pursuing to convey to you, Carl, and pursue to convey to the family there, that these things are symbolic. The Sukkah, or the tabernacle, the temporary dwelling place, is symbolic. Why? Because having experienced the memorial of the Thruah, having experienced the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, you now are being catapulted and lifted to a higher level of understanding, a higher value of your unity with one another, a higher value of your sacred relationship with your creative source, your Yahweh, a higher value of your sacred relationships with your family, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, your children. These are the things that continue to fortify our oneness as a national body that can assist us in overcoming whatever challenges, whatever adversity may be before us. Why? Because when that unity is genuine and it is from the heart, we then have invoked the presence of the Holy Spirit, the presence of your Yahweh in the midst of us, which can assure us to be successful at whatever it is that we put our hands to. So these 7 days of Sukkot are very important because, again, it makes us stop on the first day of the Holy Day cycle, and on the closeout of the next Yom Sheni, the 24th of this month, we will stop again and acknowledge Sukkot. But in between all of that, we should prayerfully be able to see how we have grown, how we have received blessings, how we are being strengthened and fortified. And all of this should cause us to rise with a greater level of consciousness, a greater level of understanding, a greater level of value, a greater desire to serve and to do all that is needed to strengthen and to continue to fortify our sacred oneness as a people. That's what all of this is leading us toward. All of these Sabbaths and this 7th month, the Hebrew 7th month of Tishrei, is to cause us to stop and to reflect on the power, the magnificence of our oneness as a people. And when we understand our oneness as a people and our ability to magnify the oneness of our sacred relationship with your Yahweh, we then are able to clearly identify with the source of our strength, which is clearly your Yahweh and one another. And does that help you have a greater level of understanding, Carl?
I'm pretty much in the know. Like I said, it's for the babies out there. We got a sister in the chat that's saying, yeah, it would be nice if you can go from A-Bib through and you know, give a little insight on each feast day from name and so on. Just a little bit, you know, you ain't got to go in depth. And then just once again magnify the 3 that you was introducing and explaining to them from the jump.
Okay, so you're talking about referencing back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and picking up at the 23rd verse, and again re-emphasizing the point of again that. Okay, hold on for 1 second.
So, people, we're listening to our brothers live from Israel. You know, we try to make this a global show dealing with the byword that's put up on a lot of Israelites worldwide and a lot of dark-skinned people, black, but everybody has a nationality, and some of us claim to be Israelites, or Hebrew Israelites is most of y'all hear the terminology being used. So we're talking live from Dimona, Israel, to be exact, about the feast days and things of that nature. Then we're gonna get into some of the stuff that we was talking about a couple weeks ago with the 7 heads and 10 horns and things of that nature, if we can ease into that. So, you know, for those that's been keeping up with our conversations from Dimona, Israel, you will have an opportunity to hopefully, you know, get some more insight on those matters too. So you back with us yet, bro?
Yes, sir, I'm back with you.
Okay.
Okay, let me help by also adding to some of the things that were said earlier, to share with you some of the original ideas we had regarding, like I had stated, the memorial, the sabbatical memorial of the Thruah. Again, we too initially looked upon it as being the memorial blowing of the trumpets, you know, to remember the significance of the trumpets. And if you are familiar, and prayerfully there are members of the family that are familiar with the blowing of the shofar, which is the blowing of a ram's horn. And again, that is a particular blast. It's a loud, victorious sound that is being sent forth, you know. And so in the earlier seasons, you know, we were putting a lot of emphasis on the blowing of the trumpet. And we were stating that the best form of the trumpet in its pure sense is the human voice. The human voice. When the words that are expressed from the mouth in unison with the heart is an expression of a trumpet. You know, so the blast of a trumpet, a particular sound, a vibration of energy that is blasted out, or that is sounded out, that is expressed, that causes movement. It causes movement, it causes change. Similar to what I explained to you out of Numbers, the 10th chapter, as a reference point, where you will see how Moses instructed the children of Israel to build 2 horns of silver. And they would give particular blasts that would cause movement of the tribes. Then again, Joshua, the 6th chapter, with the conquest of Jericho. Again, the priest at the end of that 7th day and that 7th circle around the city, the priest would sound the trumpet. But as we stated, as you'll see there, especially if you go into the Hebrew, it was the children of Israel themselves were told to leharia, you know, to sound the Thruah, to express the Thruah. And the Thruah, once the priests blew the trumpets and the people came through with their voice, or how would I say, their voice expression of the Thruah, that's what brought the walls of Jericho. You know, and so for us, the Thruah has been stated to be an acclamation, to acclaim, to exalt, to lift up, you know. Hallelujah, hallelujah, you know, to give praise, to give acclaim, to the source that has brought us into being, the source that has brought us into this land, the source that has led us out of the land of the captivities, the source that continues to watch over you and keep you and protect you while some of you are yet there in the land of the captivity. You know, the expression of the Thruah is a way of giving acclamation and praise to your Yahuwah. And so what I did in sharing it with you on a more contemporary form was showing you how we can give claim and upliftment, give a claim and upliftment and encouragement to one another. We can inspire and motivate one another. Because again, we understand your Yahuwah always works through people. Works through people, you know, insofar as its ability to communicate. We understand your Yahuwah is almighty and all powerful and can communicate with us as that energy desires to do so. But on a practical basis, your Yahuwah communicates with us through people, those that he has anointed, those that he has chosen to share with us his truth, his understanding of the processes of life that we have to apply in order to continue to magnify his presence in the midst of us, giving us the laws, giving us the guidelines, giving us the commandments, the instructions that we have to follow in order to live. So that's what, again, the memorial, the sabbatical memorial of the Thruah is all about. It's about making that sacred acclamation and that sacred expression to exalt Yah, to give praise unto Yah, to exalt and to give praise unto your brother and sister who are servants of Yah. You know, so that's what that is all about. And, you know, it used to be a time for us that Yom Kippur had a very solemn energy about it, because we were so far away from understanding the importance of unity, you know, and we had done so many things that were against the laws and the instructions of your Yahuwah. You know, we had turned our back on Yah, and we didn't understand the importance of reconciliation. We didn't understand the importance of atonement. We didn't understand, and many of us didn't really have the ability to sit down and engage in heart-to-heart discussion differences. So we had become very divided as a people. And so now that we understand the importance of oneness and the importance of reconciliation and atonement, to do whatever is necessary to maintain that oneness, and it has given us strength as a people. You know, we go into Yom Kippur, and when we talk about, you know, as it's written, you shall afflict your soul. You know, many people look upon the affliction as fasting. Well, for us here at Jerusalem, fasting is something we do every Sabbath. We fast at Jerusalem, so for us, fasting on Yom Kippur is not an affliction. But to afflict our souls on Yom Kippur means that we're going to take the steps to detoxify our relationships with one another. We're going to take the steps to remove whatever differences we have with one another. We're going to take the steps to sit down and to have those hard conversations, to create an understanding with one another, and not allow the sun to set upon us without us coming together with a stronger bond and unity. We're just not going to allow that to happen. It's similar to, if you think about Isaiah, I believe it's the first chapter, the 18th verse. And Yah told the house of Israel by way of Isaiah, Yah said, come and let us reason together. Even though your sins be as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. You know, even though your iniquity be as crimson, it will be as wool. Well, what does that that's saying? Because again, if you take time and if you look at that, you know, in English it says, let us reason together. But in Hebrew it says, come and let, it uses the term that is from the word vikuach. Vikuach, which is Vav, Kaf, Vav, Ket, Vikuach. And Lihit Vacheach, again, Lamed, Vav, Kaf, Het, is, it can be translated as to argue, to discuss, or to plead. And when you think about arguing or pleading, discussing, and again, you're talking about going from an extreme of something being scarlet to becoming white as snow. Carl, you have any idea about painting? You ever did any painting a house, anything like that? You ever paint your house, paint some rooms?
Yes.
Okay, are you familiar with what it's like to come in a room that's been painted a vibrant red, an intense red color, an intense colorful color, and now you're deciding, you know what, I'm gonna paint it white. You know how big of a challenge that is?
To a degree. I've never done it, but I can see it.
It requires several coats of paint to go from a fiery red color or a scarlet red color to becoming snow white. And I mean purely snow white, where you've made sure you've eliminated any shade of pink, any shade of burgundy as it's going through those transformations from the coats of paint that you're putting on it. It's a tedious task, nevertheless. So what I'm pursuing to convey to you, that on Yom Kippur, in our pursuit of oneness and in our pursuit to afflict our soul, similar to what Yahweh indicated to Isaiah of us coming together and reasoning, us coming together to plead, us coming together to discuss, us coming together, and we might even argue. But again, the argument is toward a goal, to clarify what's got to be clarified. This is the affliction of the soul. The affliction of the soul isn't easy. It isn't easy to sit down and accept that you were wrong. Many of us have a problem with that. We become very defensive when somebody's telling us we were wrong. But if we value the relationship, if we value the bond, then we're going to take the steps needed to pursue to build bridges between one another, as opposed to building walls between each other. We don't want anything to impede our ability to come together. And even so much that the Creator himself said, but wait a minute, I'm willing to engage you, house of Israel. And even though in my eyes your sin may be as scarlet, but if we come together and plead, if we can come together and talk this out and reason together to a sacred state of oneness, whatever that was, we'll walk out of there feeling and seeing our relationship having evolved to a state of being likened unto white as snow. Sanctity of it, that's the strength of us being able to afflict our souls, us being able to afflict ourselves and to do those things that are needed to reconcile ourselves, to atone ourselves and our sacred relationship with the Creator, Yahweh, and our sacred relationship with each other. Gives us the strength. Going to the Feast of Tabernacles, now we're ready to be transformed, because again, the Sukkah is a temporary dwelling place. And so we're going into Sukkah being pushed, moved into a whole nother realm of bonding and connectivity with each other. Because if we genuinely come together and we agree, and I say to you, I'll never do what I did to offend you before. I was wrong, or you acknowledge you were wrong, and you confess, hey, I'll never do that again. offend you in that manner again. And I accept what I did that was wrong. And it hurt me so bad to know the depth of how I offended you. Relationship that was temporarily in one state been catapulted into a whole nother state of trust, state of connecting, a whole nother state of bonding, of sharing, and willing to do what we've got to do to continue to build our world, continue to magnify the presence of your Yahweh in this kingdom that we're building. And it removes any block us from achieving that goal. Hence, we have been catapulted into another realm of consciousness.
Yeah,
Do you
well,
feel that approach? Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, because I don't believe you did it, but I got to ask it in that way to get to where I'm going. Did you take us from A-Bib through? Just for those, like I said, for those in the chat.
Did I take you through what?
A-Bib in the Passover, you know, song.
No, I didn't go into the Passover. I'm sorry. I had only dealt with this fall era and this current season. I didn't go back into Aviv, dealing with this Hebraic New Year, Memorial Passover.
Yeah, it was a
Unleavened
sister in the
bread.
chat that was asking about that, and I know she said this was her first year keeping this, that, and the other, so she kind of wanted to hear you, if nothing else, probably even do it in Hebrew, because I won't do it in Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew, so I don't even try to act like I'm capable of doing try to do it. If you would do it, you know, A-Bib and, you know, whatever Passover is, and, you know, so on and so forth, from the feast days that we have, starting with the, you know, month of A-Bib through.
Okay, well, what I can do for you, I definitely will get with Minister Amadiel and we will schedule another time, because that's a whole nother.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get into the depth of it. It's just, you know, I could say Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, first night, seventh night, you know, Day of Pentecost, Memorial of the blowing of the trumpets, which you're talking about, Day of Atonement, Feast of Tabernacle. Feast of Tabernacle go up to 8 days. You celebrate 7. I could do that, but like I'm saying, I don't do it in Hebrew. I don't say the Hebrew names, and nor do I go in, you know, areas that you may go. Just something brief. It ain't got to be in depth.
Okay. Let me try to help you like this, in brief. In the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, the 25th verse, it's written, and I'm kind of like ad-libbing here, that they would think to change times and seasons, cycles and times. And so much has been spin around, has been taken out of context. And so when you're talking about Aviv, that would be the correct Hebrew expression of the term. Aviv, which is the first Hebrew month that was given unto the children of Israel, as it's written in the book of Exodus, starting at the 12th chapter, verse 2. This would be the beginning of months for you. And so the month of Aviv is very significant, it's very important, because for us, it is our Hebraic New Year. It is our Rosh Hashanah, okay? The Jewish populace here in the state of Israel looks at Shabbaton Zikron Trua as their Rosh Hashanah, the Yom Aleph of Tishrei. The first day of the Hebrew month of Tishrei is identified by the Jews as their Rosh Hashanah. So again, as I was saying, according to Daniel 7:25, they would think to change time, cycles and times and seasons. Things have been altered to try to throw us off course. But all praise to Yahweh, we have been blessed being led by the Holy Messiah Ben-Ami, to once again realign ourselves with the sanctity of these sacred life-giving cycles again. So Aviv is the first month of the Hebrew calendar and properly identified as Aviv, the spring, as opposed to Nisan, which you would see written on the current Hebrew calendars that is written or constructed by the Jewish rabbinical leadership. Okay, so 14 days after the first of Aviv, we go into Memorial Passover. All right, Pesach HaZikaron, Memorial Passover. And then 7 days, once we've gone into Memorial Passover, for 7 days, we would have the Chag HaMatzot, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Again, Carl and family, we've got to understand that this particular sacred cycle is to solidify oneness. It celebrates our exodus out of Egypt. You know, it celebrates us being liberated from the Egyptian captivity. But again, we were told to not eat any leavened bread, to remove the leavening. Remove the leavening. And I'm going to just briefly tap on this only. That again, the leavening is sourdough. It's sourdough that can be placed in dough that is being used to make bread to cause the bread to rise up or to expand. You know, but it's sourdough. It's rotten dough. And so the spirit of this cycle is to cause us to remove any degree of something that we may have in our hearts that's sour toward one another, or that's rotten toward one another, our grudges, resentments, and spite that we hold toward one another. That's why it's called the Feast of Unleavened Bread, because again, this is symbolic to cleanse us, to purge us, to remove those impediments from us that inhibit our ability to become one. All cycle of the holy days, as well as the spring cycle of the holy days, are seeking to reinforce oneness, reinforce our ability to overcome our differences so that we can connect as a people and magnify the magnificence, the holiness and the sanctity of oneness in the midst of us at all times. That's our quest. That's what's got to be before us at all times. Hear, O Israel, you are to be one. Yah, Yahuwah, Avinu, Yahuwah, Echad. Be one. And you're to talk about this oneness with all of your heart, all of your soul, and all of your might. And in the course of your day, you're to reiterate this oneness and the importance of this oneness as you walk by the way, as you lay it down, as you rise up. Oneness is to be in the forefront of our minds and in the forefront of everything that we seek to do. We're seeking to enhance and strengthen and fortify this oneness. So that's the spirit of Aviv, the Yom Aleph, the first day of Aviv, you know, and then you have 14 days later on the 15th day of Aviv, and then on the 21st day of Aviv, you have the 15th day, you have Pesach HaZikaron, Memorial Passover. And then for 7 days from that time on, then you're having the Feast of Unleavened Bread. To again, it's symbolic. The matzot, eating the matzot, this unleavened bread is symbolic of us removing all leavening and all impediments from our heart that do not allow us to come together as one. Will that help your listener?
It's more than what she probably had before you spoke those words. So,
okay. And then again, my brother, it's no problem at a another opportune time, we can come and Ezra Yah, Yah willing, I'd be able to take time and share with you, share with the family, the significance of the counting of the Omer, which you used a Greek term, you called it the Pentecost. But again, the counting of the Omer is a 50-day cycle, 7 Sabbaths, a 50-day cycle that would take us to the Feast of Weeks. And I'll take time and I'll pursue to go into that more in depth to give yourself and to give your audience our understanding of that sacred cycle as we recognize it here at Jerusalem. Okay?
Yeah. So let me ask you this. The 7 heads and 10 horns, were we going to touch on that son today?
Brother Carl, shalom again. This is Sar Madiel.
Okay.
I just was about to interject, just on the closing note of what the coin just mentioned about here how we've interpreted things at Jerusalem. Again, it's another entire different world that we are a part of on this side of the water and in this land again and in this time. We have actually, he's talking a little bit about Pesach HaZikaron, a memorial Passover, but we actually have a celebration here. We call it New World Passover, and it commemorates our leaving out of the modern day Egypt. And so we have 2 full days, and in fact, a whole season of festivities, games, fun, food, feasting during that time in May, which commemorates our leaving America in 1967. And so that's another whole world that we would have to, sit down and explain and talk about. As far as your question about the horns and so forth, that itself is another. We do seminars about these kind of issues, so I don't think it would do it justice because both of us are. I got to get up and both of us got to get. You going to work? He's not going to work. I got to go to work. I got to get up at 4 in the morning.
It's all good. I just, I like I said, it was good to talk to y'all. I didn't know exactly what we was going to talk about, and we didn't clarify. But anytime I get an opportunity to talk to y'all brothers, it's good, and for the people to hear y'all, it's good. So, whatever we can glean from the night is what we get. So I'm grateful to have y'all over and talk about that. And, long as, communications is open, there shall be another time. As long as we breathe and we had the opportunity to communicate again.
We're going to keep the lines of communication wide open, brother. We're looking forward to, seeing you on this side. Just, come on up and make an investigation so that you can more intelligent. What's the name of the program? Something about intelligence. So
Intelligentsia.
Communicate. Yeah. What we're doing here, and what has happened, in this great transformation in our lives here, in the society, the culture, the community that's been built, and the kingdom of Yahweh on this earth at this stage of its development.
Yeah, well, Amari's over that way, and I still want to catch up with him on some things. Since the last time I seen him, we didn't get to talk or whatever, but we were seeing each other presents. But I really want to sit down and talk to him about some of these things that we have in common, and I want to make it over there. So at the end of the day, if it be his will, then I will. I just give it over to his will, and I'll be floating that way pretty soon. All
right.
So.
That's what we're gonna put it out on this side too. So, well, hallelujah, brother Carl. I'm gonna let Coin give some last words, but as always, it's a great honor and pleasure to break bread with you across these airwaves, using this technology to get this message out. To help with the great awakening of our people, and so with that, I'm signing off, and I'm gonna turn it over to Coin Rabia Coin for some last words here.
Okay, brother Carl and family. Again, it's been a very humbling experience to have the opportunity to share those thoughts with you and to share those concepts that we've been privileged to grasp and to learn and understand here at Jerusalem. Certainly looking forward to many more opportunities of being able to come and to share even more. And I pray that at some point we can set it up, Carl, where your audience would be able to engage directly in whatever questions or concerns, clarity that they may have, that we'd be able to engage them directly. And our fervent prayer eternally is that the Holy One of Israel will bless you all and keep you, that life-giving source of energy will shine his face upon you and be gracious unto you. And we certainly pray that the Holy One of Israel will lift up its countenance upon you all, guiding you and directing you in every step of your life and in all of your endeavors, allowing you to experience peace. So peace and blessings here from Jerusalem. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
No problem, no problem. I'm gonna say peace to y'all and have a safe trip to work because I ain't got to go to work in the morning.
All right. All right, Brother Carl, family.
All right, peace.
Shalom. We'll talk again soon.